Greetings, everyone. So welcome to the New York Power Team, to our New Jersey and New York Power Team here in the house. Back to doing virtual meetings here. Excited to have you today, March 9th. We've got Stephen Harms going to be our main speaker very soon. Frank's also here. Frank's in Florida, traveling.
I'm actually driving to the airport right now to catch a plane to come back to good old New York, but I am enjoying the warm weather now.
I would say stay out there, brother. So if you have palm trees, if you have beaches.
I would if I could. It's beautiful. Hey, like hell to have to go back to New York in March. I could stay down here for another month, but it is what it is.
Yeah, responsibilities, right? Screw responsibilities.
Responsibilities and family and work and all that good stuff. But I miss everybody at home, but man, I had a great 4 days down here and love coming to the warm weather during the winter.
Awesome, brother.
We miss you back.
Thank you.
A little more context here. So the Power Team community, what are we? So about 30 years ago, Frank had the idea of starting this community as a mastermind around an event. And over the years, it's evolved. We have different speakers. About 2010, Frank and I got together to kind of do this thing together. And we've since done about 200 events in person and through COVID virtually as well. We're all about community. We're about keeping people engaged and possibility, particularly around events. We go to seminars, programs, and what does it take to stay engaged in making progress, right? So we're all about that. With the Power Team, we typically meet once a month, sometimes twice a month. We've taken a bit of a break through COVID, so we're back here doing this virtually. Excited about that. Many of you also know that I lead a community called Success Circles. We're a peer coaching accountability community. I love today's topic because I'm very passionate about voice. I'll talk about my experience with that. We'll go into some announcements as well. Frank, anything in your end while you're driving safely out there? Anything you want to announce?
No, just thrilled to have Stephen here tonight. Most of all, I met Stephen last year on Clubhouse, and this man is brilliant at his craft. He's incredibly generous and giving with his time, and he has already been dropping gold nuggets on the pre-show here. So I'm thrilled for each of you who are watching this either live or on replay. You're going to really enjoy what this man has to offer, and it's going to help you up-level not just your singing voice, but your business game. If you speak or present ever in front of an audience or one-on-one, you're just going to learn so much tonight. So I'm excited to reconnect with Stephen here and bring him all to you. And thank you, Joseph, for reconnecting with Stephen and making this happen.
Of course, my pleasure. We'll get Stephen on shortly. Excellent. So for all of you watching the background, if you go to nypt.info, there are links to everything we do. nypt.info is all about us, our Facebook page, our meetup page as well. Also, we're constantly evolving what we're doing here with this process. I just want to share with regard to voice. I'm excited to have Stephen here. This format tonight will be a bit of a Q&A, right? We'll do Q&A. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat. If you have questions, if you're watching this virtually on Facebook, please put them in the feed. We'll come to you. We'll answer those questions the best we can. We have Stephen here for an hour and a half. We were even considering meeting a Clubhouse afterward too, but I think we're going to keep it on Zoom here in this session here to just really keep it like all tight together. A little bit of my background, like I used to be in the corporate world about 20 some years ago. And when I left, one of the reasons why I left was after 9/11. And someone actually commented to me that, hey, Joseph, you've got a unique voice. And it would be a shame if you didn't deliver it, find some way to deliver it to the world. At that point in my life, I stuttered. I ate my words. I still ate my words at times. You can possibly hear it at times. And I've learned over the years through just some great training, initially with Roger Love. That's how I actually met Docs here. Later on, it was with Docs is just raising his hand. He's also here in the East Coast as well. It's great, Docs. And later on, it was with a number of other trainers, including a woman named Kristen Linklater. I work with her. She heads Columbia University, the drama department. She passed away a couple of years ago. Incredible trainer. I've had the opportunity of doing some work with musical voice, singing voice, speaking voice. What Stephen's done, bringing it all together, bringing a lot of fun and lightness to it as well, is a game changer. And he has his own channel on Clubhouse as well. And it's called Voice. You can find him very easily there. Let me just share a little bit of his bio as well. I'll do my best to give it justice. Of course, if you go to voiceofintention.com, you will get more about his bio. He is, of course, an incredible singer, and voice coach. He's appeared on soundtracks of many Hollywood blockbusters, including Frozen, which my daughter loves, Minions, Despicable Me, Star Wars, and the Transformers series, and other Hollywood movies. He's an expert in voice mastery. This includes how sound is produced and the breathing necessary to create impeccable sound. Everything we do with voice is about breathing. He'll go into that this evening as well. He's classically trained as a professional opera singer. I know we have other opera singers here too as well, also in this environment on this call. And he's been performing nationally and internationally for 2 decades. He shared stages with well-known greats such as Placido Domingo and Andrea Bocelli. While spending the last 2 decades singing, speaking, and teaching, he's developed an expert level breathing. He's developed expert level breathing techniques, speaking and teaching styles. I mean, he's here to really support you in enhancing your personal health, allowing anyone to train their bodies to live healthier with the advantage of defying age and having longevity of life. He looks a lot younger than he is. He's in his 50s. And I'm just excited to have you, brother, here this evening. Of course, we can go much more into your background, but Stephen's extraordinary. Most people have access to him virtually on Clubhouse. He has his own Clubhouse channel called Voice, and we get the opportunity of accessing him on video too as well. There are other elements of doing things in video too. For you in Facebook, if you have questions, by all means, put them into the chat. If you have questions here in Zoom, put them in the chat too as well. I'm excited, Stephen. Stephen, what got you in this game of really voice and doing what you do, and why is it called The Voice of Intention?
Wow, that's a lot of questions. Why do you breathe, Stephen? So you'll have to forgive me. I laugh a lot. So I'm not usually laughing at the people that are asking me questions, but I do laugh a lot. It is part of who I am. I wasn't always like this.
Part of your most charming features. That's what it is.
Well, you know, when I was in high school, when I was in college, I didn't laugh at all. As a child, I did not laugh at all. I was not a happy individual. I literally used to punch cars. I was such an angry person. It was crazy. And I never smiled. I was very depressed. I talked out of the side of my mouth like this for a very long time. And I fixed that. I learned how to talk out of the other side of my mouth over the course of time by using breath pressure to change the muscles and how the muscles respond to the breath. So there's a lot of things you can do with breathing. Now, when I first started singing, or the reason I wanted to start singing, is because I figured music, singing, was the most influential form of communication in the world. Period. Right? It doesn't matter who you are, what you say. If you can write a hit song, or if you're even credited for writing a hit song, and then all of a sudden you have that song on the radio or Spotify or on YouTube, all of a sudden you're like, well, what do you think about the president? I really care about your opinion. You know, and it's the funniest thing to me because it should not be that way, but it is. We value the opinion of people that are well known. Period. Why? I don't really know. I haven't quite figured this out sociologically, but the truth is the reason I wanted to learn how to sing initially is because I knew I'd have more influence in the world. I would be able to help more people. So I think that answers your initial question, Joseph, as to why I started. Why I call it the voice of intention is over the course of now many years, I have learned that intentionality is not just a thing. It's not just a side thing. Like, you know, I'm going to live my life, but I'm also going to be intentional. Or I'm going to eat dinner tonight, and then I'm also going to learn how to be intentional. I'm going to make sure that I see every episode of 24 and Game of Thrones and make sure that I watch the next Star Wars movie the first day that it comes out. And then I'm also going to be intentional. The truth is we have not really understood or taken advantage of what being intentional actually is. And I'm going to tell you exactly what being intentional is. Intentionality is the difference of waiting to see what happens in life and responding versus being proactive to make sure that you have impact and influence on what happens next in your life. That's the difference of intentionality. Unfortunately, we've also decided as a human race that we should sometimes be intentional. That it's not a thing where like you have a habit of being intentional. In other words, there's an ancient text that says this. It says, have every thought captive to what you do next. Every thought. It doesn't say most thoughts or some thoughts. It literally alludes to the concept of whatever you're going to do next, make sure that you captivate it. In other words, that you're intentional about it. There's other ancient text that says, make sure that you're always thinking about other people. Well, you can't think about other people unless you're intentional. If you're not intentional to love people, you fall into what I call passive love or non-active love. It's the concept of you assume that you're loving the people that you're talking to. You assume that you love the people that you're associating with. You assume that you love the people that you're communicating with, but you're not actually choosing how to do that. So early on in my life, somebody challenged me to write a book. So I started writing it. I never published it, but I still have all the writings of it. And the concept of the book and the name of the book was called Strategy to Love. And the concept behind this was simple. It was before you actually can figure out how to love people, you actually have to plan it. Because think about it. When was the last time you accidentally loved somebody? Nobody, that doesn't happen, right? You're like, oh my gosh, there was a stranger, I met them on a bus and I accidentally loved them. I accidentally thought, oh, I want what's best for this person. It has to be intentional. It has to be intentional. So if we don't strategically decide we're going to love a person, we're not going to. This translated into the concept of what I call the average Joe philosophy. In other words, the concept was average Joe or average Josephine, I expanded it to later, which is the idea that every person you come in contact with is a person. And since they are a person, if you would practice loving an average Joe or practice loving an average Josephine, you would start to realize that you actually love less than you think that you do. Because you start challenging yourself on what that love actually looks like. And you start realizing that you don't have that kind of love for even the people that are closest to you. A spouse, a brother, a sister, a child, a parent. In other words, you have assumed love or general love for the people that are closest to you. And then as you try to love average Joes and Josephines, you try to have specific love.
16:45.
I'll explain my timer in just a second. And as you try to have that specific love, you start realizing that you're not quite as loving as you think that you are. As you do that, you start realizing that your intentionality level is not really that high. Because if it was, you'd be waking up in the morning going, okay, today, I'm going to make it my goal to love, reach out, care for, serve, and help as many people as possible. What's the best thing that I could do first? And then you would figure out what that was. And you would attempt and learn how to cultivate your life around this thought from moment to moment to moment to moment.
And Stephen, with regard to that, a lot of us in our community are present this idea of priming our minds so we can kind of get to love people, get out our own ego. And like I think of priming as like meditation of sorts, but I also look at priming when I do voice work or practicing like releasing my body so I can be able to project more, getting myself out of the way as well also. So how does one go about loving others? Let's say there are some of us here on the sessions, we're podcasters, we lead the stages. How do you go about intentionally loving on others and get out of your own way so you can like focus on them and deliver? What are some things you do?
100%. So the first thing if you were thinking about it clearly and you made a list of how to love people, that list would be really long. But there would also be tons of contradictions or seemingly contradictions on the list. For example, sometimes the best way to love people is to give them money. And sometimes the best way to love people is to not give them money. Sometimes the best way to love somebody is to share something. And sometimes the best way to love somebody is to listen. Sometimes the best way to love somebody is to read something. And sometimes the best way to love somebody is to do some sort of physical activity instead. Sometimes the best way to love somebody is to get sleep. And another time, the best way to love somebody is to go on Clubhouse. People get these two confused all the time. And they get confused. And when they should be sleeping, they go on Clubhouse instead. In other words, there's lists of these, and we made hundreds of these back and forth ideas of love. But the one commonality of all of those things is unless you actually have a strategy or an intentionality to love first, you can't even make a clear decision on what is the best choice to love this particular individual or this particular group. Therefore, that intentionality is key to everything. It's key to every choice that you make. We overlook this because we put things into categories of like, this is an okay thing to do. Why not? Yeah, sure. You want to go to a movie tonight? Yeah, sure. Why not? I've got nothing better to do. What? You don't have anything better to do? Now, if somebody says, hey, do you want to go to a movie? And I think through it and I think, you know what? See, if I go to a movie, I've heard about this movie. I think there's a lot of people talking about this movie, but also I get to spend time with you. We'll have some interaction. We'll build a relationship. Yeah, right. Let's go to a movie. But see, now I'm making an intentional choice based upon value. That's what I'm actually doing. I'm not just randomly doing something because I can, which is what we are constantly doing because we're not intentional. The greatest example of this is what we call our personalities. Nobody said, you know what? I could have this kind of personality, or I could have this kind of personality, or I could have this kind of personality, or I could have this kind of personality. Which one do I want? I choose this one. I'm going to be like this. That did not happen. So if a person is having a particular voice, a particular way that they present themselves, more than likely, they did not choose it, nor did they know that they could, nor do they know that now that that's who they are, or that's who they've become, that they can change it. But you can only change it if you are intentional. It doesn't just happen. Intentionality guards and guides every habit that you have. All of the habits that you have that you don't like are basically the results of passive, non-intentional, non-choices that you made in your life that just kind of happened. And now you look at them and you go, I don't like that anymore. I want to make it different. The only way that you can do that is through intentionality. That's the only way. It's not just going to happen. It's not. When was the last time anybody, raise your hand, that you accidentally got out of bed? You were in bed, and then all of a sudden you're out of bed. And you're like, well, how did that happen? I'm out of bed.
Unless you rolled over. My son is
Right?
3 years old. My son's 3. It's happened if he's
Yeah.
rolled over and fallen out of the bed. So it happens in rare instances, but yeah.
But nobody's just all of a sudden standing up, getting dressed, and they're like, how did that happen? I meant to stay in bed. Case in point, unless you're intentional to get out of bed, you stay there.
Yep.
Period.
I guess, would you associate being intentional as being like 100% responsible, like moment by moment? This is concept of personal development that when you're responsible for who you are, what you're about to say, if you own everything, realizing every moment counts. Yeah, it's similar.
Yes. And the only way to do that, Joseph, and then this is something that I teach ad nauseum, is to remove judgment from your life. You have to remove the good, the bad, the right, the wrong, the correct, the incorrect, the proper, the improper concept. You can't say, well, the right way to get out of bed is to set my alarm, get up at this time, get up in this amount of minutes, get dressed in this amount of time, you can't do that. You have to start thinking life in terms of what's effective and what's not as effective, what's healthy and what's not as healthy, what moves you towards your goal and what takes you away from what you're trying to accomplish. Worse yet, if you go through this process, you might realize you don't actually have any goals at all. You're waiting for stuff to happen and then you're just going to respond. This is what we call getting by, surviving, existing. This is what I believe most people are doing. And to answer your earlier question about why I really got involved in this idea of really pushing intentionality, is I believe there's hundreds of million, if not a billion people out there that want to be intentional. They want to do good things. They want sex trafficking to end. They want the 800 million people that don't have fresh water to drink to have it. They want to do something better with their life so that they can love, reach out, care for, serve, and help as many people as possible. But they do not know what to do. And the biggest thing that stops them is the fact that they are currently judging what they're doing now. Rather than going, this is where I am now. Intentionally, I'm going to do this next. Not because that was good and what I was doing was bad, but because that's a more effective choice as a human being for me to move forward into the next moment of my life and to get the most value out of it. I teach something called the value scale for this. If you're writing things down, you'll want to write this down. Everything in life falls into 5 categories: vital, important, desirable, trivial, and detrimental. Not good, bad, right, wrong, correct, incorrect, proper, improper. This is the difference between judgment and evaluation. If you start looking at the things in your life, you start realizing, hey, I want to fill my life with things that are vital and important. Now think about this. If you choose something that's desirable, you're more than likely not even choosing it. It just happened and it was desirable. So without being intentional, you just did it. If you do that too often, then it keeps you away from the things that are vital and important. Should we do things that are desirable sometimes? Absolutely. But then we move down the scale into something called trivial. That's not even desirable. It's just sort of there and not really valuable at all. It's one of those things that falls into the category of, like, if you're in an afterlife or a nirvana or a heaven, if you believe in that sort of thing, where you look back and go, I am so glad that I did that trivial thing. But you will not say that. But you will look back and go, because I did that trivial thing, it kept me from something that was vital or important. Because time is only good for one of these things at the same time, at one time. Therefore, if you choose, or rather make a non-choice to do something trivial, and it keeps you from doing something vital and important, then it becomes detrimental. So truly, nothing is trivial. Anything that you choose that's trivial is actually detrimental. You just don't see it that way.
Yeah.
So,
and every moment counts, basically, right? Especially during COVID, it's easy to do things the path of least resistance, but really every moment counts. So why not choose things that are in alignment of impact and leadership, which is the theme of what we're doing.
Amen. The purpose of the body really only has one goal, and it's to keep you alive. That's it. That's its job. It does a lot of other things too, but really its only job, its only occupation is to make sure that you stay alive. And it only does one thing to make sure that you stay alive. It makes sure that you take another breath.
So,
That's what it does.
Steven, so how do we engage breathing then? Like, how do we tap into the diaphragm naturally? Like my son's 3 years old. He's so natural when he breathes, when he connects. How do we get back to that? Some of us are older, 30s, 40s, 50s. How do we get back to that?
I love what you said. How do we get back to it? Because that, Joseph, is an accurate statement. You see, when people come out of the womb, they aren't like, how do I get back to rock climbing? Right? At the age of 10, at the age of 20, at the age of 30, if you've never rock climbed, you never say, how do I get back to rock climb? You've never done it before. But when we're talking about how we breathe, how we create sound, how we open the mouth, how we smile, how we laugh, how we cry, you ask the best question. How do you get back to that?
By the way, just a quick shout out to your example, because I'm thinking about how do I get back to rock climbing, but I did rock climb earlier.
Because you can only get back to rock climbing if you've done it before, Frank. That's my point.
So I'll tell you a quick story, not to go way too off topic, but my nephew, when he was a little boy, I used to take him like rock climbing and introduce him to mountains, whatever. Never took to it, but now he's graduated college. He's in his 20s, and all of a sudden he's developed this interest in rock climbing, and he's gotten way more into it than I ever did. So a little bit of karmic bounce back, I guess. I don't know, but
well, think about it.
Love the example.
No, that's great. So I use rock climbing because most people don't understand what it would take to become a rock climber. In order to become a rock climber, all you have to do is put one foot on a rock and lift your other foot off the ground. And you're rock climbing. That's it. But before you have that experience, it's completely unfamiliar to you. So, Joseph, how many things in your life are unfamiliar to you from the moment you come out of the womb? What percentage?
I mean, I think everything is from the moment I come out of the room.
100% of the things that happen in life are completely unfamiliar to you from the moment you're born. But there's two things that happen the moment you're born that are significant to our conversation. 2, you ready? You breathe water for however long you're in the womb, and you come out of the womb, and immediately you do 2 things. You take a deep breath of oxygen for the very first time, then you sing. Make no mistake about it, it's singing. We call it a whine. It is physiologically.
It's 17
singing.
hours.
It is also physiologically laughing. It's physiologically an open space, the first awe of your life. And it is the key to every person's voice on planet Earth. But there was 2 things: a big, deep breath, and then singing. That is how we start our journey here on planet Earth. So your statement about getting back to that is 100% accurate. That's what it actually is. So when you look at your child and you look at the things that your child does, and here's where we're going to go off the rails, everybody. In 2022, I am going to proclaim that the era of misinformation dies. And here it is. Everybody's been talking about the value of breathing through the nose. The truth of the matter is, we are going to breathe through our noses anyway. To be intentional about how you create sound, you must be intentional about how you breathe in and out through the mouth. To be intentional about how you breathe, you must be intentional about how you breathe in and out through the mouth. To be intentional about your sound, you must be intentional about how you create sound as you breathe in and out through the mouth. In order to be intentional and to create those habits, you also must be intentional about how you breathe and create sound in and out through the mouth when you're not creating sound in and out through the mouth. If you learn how to do that, then and only then will you be able to do what I do with my voice, with my breathing, with my life. And please understand, the statement that I'm about to make is going to be very strange for those on the call that are listening to this that sing. I have not warmed up my voice in 12 years, over a decade, because I don't have to. Because the way that I breathe and the way that I talk is exactly the same way that I would sing. There's no difference, and you can't really tell where the singing ends and where the speaking begins, because they're the same. And they're based upon how I breathe. Now, if I didn't smile, I would look like this. Hey, everybody, I'm singing and now I'm talking, and that's all fine and dandy. But you would think, wow, that's very strange. Why is he talking like that? Because the truth is, this is how I talk. My mouth is always has this shape and is always open with a big, deep breath all the time. There are no exceptions to this. But nobody knows that, Joseph, or anybody on the call, because I smile while I talk. And because I smile when I talk, you can't tell that that is what I am actually doing. As a strict matter of fact, not only am I hiding the fact that I am intentionally mouth breathing constantly, but when you smile while you mouth breathe and leave your mouth open, you need more air pressure in the body to continue it. So it causes you to deep breathe even more than you already are. That is why I never need to warm up my voice. It is always simply doing what it needs to do all of the time, no matter what.
So Stephen, are you recommending that we keep our mouths open and breathe out our mouths continuously and smile and engage that way?
I am. And I have created a way to do this in such a way so that when you go online and find the thousands of articles against mouth breathing, you'll be able to understand why those articles exist and why they're not being completely clear. Because they're not really talking about mouth breathing. They're talking about people that are leaving their mouth open, but they're not intentionally engaging their body. Because if your mouth is open and you engage the body, engage the diaphragm, engage the deep breath, engage the lower back, you're basically laughing. And laughing has been proven to increase our longevity. So if you are going to leave your mouth open, you must be engaging the deep breath. You must engage the diaphragm. If you're not going to engage the diaphragm, if you're not going to deep breathe, yeah, you better keep your mouth closed, for sure.
Awesome. Well, how about if we like in unison laugh, right? Just to like release, right? Just to like practice that for the sake of it. So like the next 10 seconds, we'll like laugh. However you laugh.
I love it.
All right.
Okay, everybody laugh. Now as you do that, imagine feeling that as you talk all day long. That is what I am actually doing all day long, all the time when I speak. And I've learned how to do it so much, I also do it when I'm not speaking. I do it all of the time. And when you're speaking, I'm still doing it. You just can't tell. So if I turn off my sound like this, you just think that I'm smiling because that's all you see on Zoom. But in truth, I'm engaging my intercostals, I'm engaging my diaphragm, I'm engaging the lower back, I'm engaging the belly, I'm engaging the stomach, all of the things that everybody said about what you need to engage for deep breathing. I'm doing it all, constantly, all of the time.
So when you're in video, how do you, like, let's say we're in Zoom video, like you're leading an event, podcast, video podcast. How do you do that without and still be intentional and, like, I guess have a clear face, when you're talking to someone, especially if something's very serious, talking about war around the world in Europe? Great
question. So the best example I've used for this, if you've heard me say this before, please forgive me. Say, your dog died? Oh my gosh, that's horrible. You loved that dog. Oh my gosh. What happened? He got hit by a car? See, I'm not going to do that.
No.
That's completely insensitive. I'm not going to do that. But I'm also not going to do this. Oh, your dog died. I'm so sorry. No, I know you loved that dog. I'm not going to do that either. I'm going to do this. Watch. Now, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to go, your dog died? Oh, that's so sad. Because, so you see, I have a smile when I'm talking, right? And I'm engaging my intercostals to encourage that smile. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep engaging my body as if I'm smiling, and I'm going to relax purposely, intentionally, the face, but I'm going to breathe the same way. Oh, your dog died. I'm so sorry. What happened? I know. But see, what's happening here is if you look really closely, you can see that I still have a slight smile. But what is that? Hope. That's what that is. It's hope. Hey, your dog died. It's not the end of the world. But I'm not saying that. I'm showing that. This is what psychologists have learned to do when they talk, right? They learn how to instill hope, because you don't go to a psychologist. They don't look at you like this. That's very interesting. They don't do that. They have learned how to keep this face. They've learned that. Right? Newscasters have learned how to do this, right? There was a fire today and 12 people died. No, they don't look like that. There was a fire today. 12 people died, unfortunately. Paramedics are on the scene. Let's go there. But they don't look like this, but they also don't look like this. And 12 people died, because if they did that, nobody would watch the news. They just would not.
Once again, it's about intention, right? The intention, the value, whatever you want your audience
100%
to receive, and really honor that while keeping the mouth open, while keeping the mask open, perhaps at the same time.
So I have a name for this. So I have an IMDb profile, right? I'm on soundtracks and all these different kinds of things, right? So I'm trying to teach people to have their own IMDb profile. You ready? Intentional mouth deep breathing. IMDb profile.
Love it.
And that is the key, is you want to have intentional mouth deep breathing, but it's got to be intentional. And if you can learn to smile, and obviously I need to show you how to do this. You're not going to learn how to do this on your own. I can give you a few exercises, but to really incorporate it into your life and make it a habit, you need several weeks or several months. Now, this myth that it takes 10 to 20 years for a singer to become a singer is a myth. It is a lie. It is a lie. It is a lie. People can learn to sing opera if they were really dedicated in a year or two. The reason that the obstacle exists is because they only practice the breathing that is necessary for singing when they're singing. I'll repeat that. The reason it takes such a long time for a singer to become a singer is because they're only practicing the things that work for singing for an hour a week, or maybe an hour a day if they're lucky. But the whole rest of their life, they live in a world where they worship their voice teacher, because they go to their voice teacher, and after 15 to 30 minutes with their voice teacher, their voice feels free and open again. Why? Because the voice teacher is having them do exercises that opens up their voice and causes them to deep breathe, right? And they go, oh my gosh, this feels so great. I'm going to keep this. Oh, you're amazing. I love you so much. Thank you for making yourself available today. And then they leave the lesson, they get on their cell phone, and somebody says, hey, how was the lesson? They're like, dude, it was amazing. I had such a great lesson today. The lesson was amazing. And my teacher just really opened me up. And it was, in other words, they go back to their speaking voice. That is the greatest obstacle to the person that wants to become a professional singer. Time. And that time gets wasted because they change the environment from what they work on when they're learning to sing versus what they're learning to do in the whole rest of their life. And if you missed the beginning of this time with me and Joseph and the community here, then you didn't hear me say this: whichever habit you use the most is the one that wins. Which habit are you more likely to practice? The speaking habit that you've had for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, or that singing trick that the voice teacher gave you to deep breathe in 1 hour?
So Stephen, this is huge for me, right? This is massive. And why it's important is that 20 years ago, when I got entrepreneurship, I started throwing parties in New York City. And we had these events. We would engage a charity. We'd invite our family. We'd invite our friends. We'd invite our business colleagues. We'd invite our classmates. At least I did. And I found that in this room that we would have, like this venue in New York City, when I went to each of these groups, how I would show up with each of those groups was based on how they saw me. Like it's this whole idea that we rise to the quality of the expectations of our peer group that people talk about. We rise to that. So I would rise basically to how they saw me, and I would have a stutter with certain people, or I'd be more expressed because I was also studying acting at the same time with my acting friends. It was really fascinating. But how do we break out of it? How do we break out of it and be ourselves all the time? Like how we show up with everyone. Like how do we do that? I'm very curious to your thoughts about that.
So my alarm is about to go off again. You're about to hear it, and I'm going to explain that really quick.
It's 17:15.
My alarm goes off every 15 minutes to remind me to drink water. That's why it's there. So if you guys don't have water, go get some water. How many times have you gone through an entire day and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't drink that much water today. I don't feel very good. You can't get that time back. Drink water all day long. If I didn't have that 15-minute alarm, I would forget to. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, the answer to your question is really simple, Joseph. And I want everybody to really think clearly about this. If you were starting your life today, and you were going to present yourself and have the kind of personality that you wanted in the world, and you could choose it, what would you choose? Wouldn't you choose to be a happy, laughing, joyful, fun-loving individual? Wouldn't you? Isn't that what you would choose? Now erase all of that. What if you could choose it? Because you can't. Because I can show you how. But what's the obstacle from being able to choose that? Your current situation and your past and the people that currently know you. But you only know 0.00001 of the people on planet Earth. But the people that you want to impact and influence are the 99.9999999. Therefore, if that's your goal and your intention, is it not worth your effort, time, intentionality, resources, money, what have you, to say, hey, I'm going to change this. I'm going to be that way. Because nobody wants to be the way that I was before I am the way I am now. I promise you, nobody wants to be the depressed, angry, sad, despondent, frustrated Stephen. Nobody. Nobody wants to be this. And if you don't believe that this is what I was like all of the time, you can ask people that know me. Because this is what I looked like on a daily basis. I'm not kidding. This was me. And I changed it. So if I can change it, then you can too. So if you struggle with that even a little bit, I can show you how to change it. But please understand, it requires you deciding that you're going to breathe differently. I cannot help somebody just decide to change it. It doesn't work that way, because everything in the body works with 2 steps. There's actually 3, but I'll teach 2 for the sake of simplicity. 2 steps. You have the intentionality to do something. And if the body knows how, it then acts upon and activates that intention. It acts upon and moves towards that. It gives you that action. Does that make sense? It activates and manifests the intention that you put out there. But if the body doesn't know what to do, your intentionality isn't going anywhere. It just won't work. When it comes to breathing, your intentionality to deep breathe is a great first step, but physically, you don't know how. And the reason that you don't know how is because for 10, 20, 30 plus years, you've been breathing shallow. And you've gotten so used to it that the body does not want to work harder. It just doesn't, which means you have to decide to take over your body, because right now your body's in charge. Habits are based upon the fact that the body is in charge, not you. You can quote me on that. That's what a habit actually is physically in the body. A habit that you don't want is because the body is in charge, not you. But the body, which is designed to keep you alive, will do what you say if you know how to tell the body what to do. I describe the body as a bunch of little men that run around in a little factory, right? And they're basically doing whatever it is that they're already doing. And all of a sudden, you're like, you know what? I'm going to breathe through my mouth. And the body goes, what? All the little men in the factory go, no, that will require more work. We'll have to get more workers. We'll have to put more wood on the fire. No, we're not doing that. But you say, no, body, you're going to do what I say. And they're like, oh, okay, fine. All right, guys, get to work. This guy wants us to work harder. That's what it comes down to, is me teaching you how to be intentional, to teach you, to teach your body to work harder for you so you don't have to. That's what it actually is. This is what opera singers have learned. Now, the best opera singers in the world know this, but they don't tell the rest of the world, because if they did, then the rest of the world would know that opera singers are not special. So they keep it to themselves. Well, I know exactly why I'm able to sing opera the way that I am, but I'm not going to tell you because, you know, that I'm special this way. Nobody's going to say that in an interview. They're going to say, you know, I worked really hard, and you know, and I have this ability, and you know, and I'm very grateful for this ability, and da, 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 da. But the truth of the matter is anybody can do it. As I live and breathe, ladies and gentlemen, if I can become a professional opera singer, anybody can become a professional opera singer. And let's just lay this out specifically. I sang for the LA Opera for 20 years. I did nearly 100 productions, and I was told that I would never sing. Why? Because I talked out of the side of my mouth like this, and I had a lisp, and so I had to overcome my lisp as well. And also because I was looking like this all the time, I didn't even have the muscles in my face, and I had a nasal sound like this. It was very nasal, and I had vocal nodules, calluses that were on my cords that I had to get rid of, and I have scoliosis, and I have asthma. Wow. And I never crawled as a child. So in my late teens, early 20s, I invented a crawling therapy that gave me the ability to create isometric rhythms in my body so that I could clap and walk in rhythm. Because previously, before my age of 20, I could not. So.
Well, if you could do it, if you can overcome all of that, then we can as well also.
Bingo. And if you have a lisp on this call, I can fix it just like that. Anybody? I'll tell you how I fixed it. You ready?
Bring it on.
You know that I don't close my mouth, which means whenever I finish a phrase, my mouth pops back open. You just can't tell that I'm doing that because the space is a little bit more closed than would show that. And also I'm smiling to hide the fact that I'm doing this. Do you see that? Does everybody see that? Just raise your hand if you see that.
Yes.
Okay. A lisp happens because the tongue gets caught. But if you finish every phrase with your mouth open and the tongue glued to the bottom of the mouth, no lisp. Instantly gone. What else couldn't I do? I couldn't roll my R's. And so I had all these joker teachers that like, if you want to roll your R's, just do this. Go, ba-da, 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 ba-da. But they're wrong. They didn't even know what they were talking about because a rolled R only happens with one concept. The tongue is in a certain position and the air and the breath pressure move the tongue. If you move it muscularly, no rolled R can take place. So if you don't know how to roll your R, I'm going to tell you exactly what would happen if you tried right now. The first thing, if you knew about the breath pressure would immediately push the tongue to the top of the mouth, and then it would start to flip the tongue. And that's how a rolled R takes place. I taught this to myself. Therefore, I can teach other people how to roll their R's. Also, I couldn't match pitch. I couldn't match pitch. But see, most people don't understand that pitch is relative. Think of it like color blindness. Okay? In color blindness, if a person can't see a particular color, you can't teach them to see that color. Why? They've never seen that color, so they have no frame of reference. But with pitch, that's not the case. With pitch, all you have to do is give someone a frame of reference, and you can get anybody to match pitch in about 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Because there's a spectrum. It's not it's not all over the map. It's a spectrum. So if you want somebody to match pitch, and this happens 95% of the time, somebody comes to me and says, oh, I can't match pitch. But they already can. They just don't know what their frame of reference is. So I give it to them. They go, oh, I can't match pitch. And I'll go, you know what? Just sing a pitch. Just go, most of the time, the pitch that I sing, they'll copy. They instantly match my pitch. If they don't do that, then I just simply say, sing a pitch on your own. And they sing, and I'll go, great. Now do it again. 99% of the time, they will sing the exact same pitch that they just sang. They just gave themselves a frame of reference. Now, all I have to do is teach them what their frame of reference is and teach them how the spectrum works. And in 10 to 15 minutes, I have them matching pitch. That's how I learned to match pitch. And I can now teach it to others. So,
Stephen, Felicia has a question. She's curious if let me just raise it. I'm curious to know what you think is the reason that singers ruin their voices or overuse their voices. Is it because they are inconsistent with how they breathe, exercise, or use their voices?
100%.
Great question.
The best way to explain this is with a car. In order for a car to run, it needs two things. It needs a working engine, and you need to fill it with gas. But most people, when they think about their voice, they're not thinking about what the engine is doing, and they're not thinking about filling it up with gas. They're thinking about the color of the car. And so all of these people that are destroying their voices and have trouble with their voices, they're focused on the color of the car rather than understanding the engine and filling the car up with gas. And unfortunately, most of the voice teachers that are out there teaching are playing to this because they know that that's what people want. People don't want to work. They don't want to learn how to take care of the engine of their car, and they don't want to learn how to put gas into the car. They don't want to take the time. So instead, what they do is they go to a voice teacher that will teach them how to paint the car a particular color, and then they push the car around town because it doesn't actually run. But as long as it's popular to people, they don't care. That's a rough analogy and an oversimplification of what's taking place.
It's 17:30.
But I think it's pretty accurate.
Thank you for that. No, it just really struck me because you said that how people should be practicing this breathing all the time when they're speaking, when they're singing, even when you're not making any sound. So it occurred to me, maybe that's why people are so-called losing their voices or injuring their voices, because they're being inconsistent.
Right. Well, when I talk about, Felicia, it's a great question. But see, when I talk about the painting of the car, let's take Mary Had a Little Lamb. I love Mary Had a Little Lamb. It's a very simple, easy song. Okay. So if I'm thinking about painting my car for Mary Had a Little Lamb, I'm going to go like this. Mary had a little lamb, a little lamb, oh Mary. She had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow. Right? I'm painting. It's kind of cool. It's not like amazing but it's presentable. It's kind of fun. It's cool. It's hip, whatever. Right? How much breathing am I doing?
I don't think that much.
None. I don't need to. How about this? Mary had a little lamb, a little lamb, a little lamb, oh Mary. She had a little lamb, his face was white as snow. How much breathing am I doing?
a little bit more, yeah.
Not much though, right? And I've added a little bit of rasp to the
Yeah.
sound, stuff like this, right? In other words, people are more concerned about creating these kinds of sounds, but they're not considering the fact that they're not breathing. So
So
basically,
it's more the
everything's fine.
style. They're creating the style, but yeah.
Exactly. See, opera, you'll want to write this down. You've probably never heard this before. Opera is not a style of singing.
Hmm.
Opera is the most effective, efficient, open, free sound that a human being can make without a microphone, so that it will carry over an orchestra without amplification. So, Bing Crosby, right? I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. Nobody would know who Bing Crosby was if not for the invention of the microphone, because nobody would have heard him. In order for people to hear him, he would have had to go, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, which would have sounded a little like opera. In other words, everything that was heard by the human ears in person, no matter what the style was, no matter what the genre is, come away with me, Lucille, in my merry Oldsmobile, sounded like opera. It would had to have. In the 1920s, Puccini died. Puccini was the last of the great Italian composers. Why do we call him that? Because after the 1920s, opera kind of died. Why? Because of the invention of the microphone. That's what happened. It was over because there was no point anymore. Everything became on the microphone, and everything now you didn't have to know how you do anything. All you needed to do is look the right way, perhaps, right? Be able to make a particular sound through the microphone that made you popular, and you were good to go. That's what started happening. In the 30s and the 40s, we still had some people sounding like opera on the microphone, right? We have things like South Pacific, which took place with Rogers and Hammerstein, and people make fun of it because it sounds too operatic. Like, that doesn't sound like musical theater. It sounds too much like opera. That's just the way that it is. So the world changed, and everything became about painting the car, not supporting the sound so that it would carry without a microphone. As people continued on the microphone and painted their cars and painted their voices, they breathed less and less and less and less. And that's where we are now. We are in an entire worldwide culture of people that are more concerned about the sound that is resulted than how the sound is produced. That's where we currently are.
One of the benefits, when you get this down, one of the benefits is that you will live longer because you're breathing, you're sending oxygen in your blood at various levels. So your vitality and your energy increases too at the same time as you do this, as you tap.
That is correct. In the 1920s, they did a study where they said, hey, we've proven now that people that sing on a consistent basis live longer. That was in the 1920s. It was 100 years ago that they did this study. 100 years. But they were talking about the type of singing that's done without amplification. That's the type of singing that elongates your life. So, Mary Had a Little Lamb. You ready? What I'm going to do next, Felicia, is I am going to breathe the same way every single way that I sing the song, but I will not change the breathing. I will only change the sound. Are you ready?
Okay.
Here we go. My breathing is not going to change. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, Mary had a little lamb, a little lamb, a little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, a little lamb, a little lamb. Mary had a little lamb. In other words, once you learn to breathe a particular way, you can paint your car whatever color you want. That is what I'm actually doing. That's what gives me the ability to go, don't stop believing, hold on to that feeling, into wise men say only fools rush in her. She's got smiles that it seems to be my childhood, into con te partirò, paesi che non ho mai. See, it doesn't matter. I am breathing a particular way. And because I breathe that way, I can do whatever I want. What percentage of the world do you think know how to do this, Felicia? Almost nobody. And here's why. Because people that learn opera, most of the time, can only sing opera. Because they don't want to change the way that they're producing the sound, because they know that the other sounds could hurt their voice. People that learn the other way, that don't really learn how to support and, can create all kinds of different styles, can't do opera because they can't support deep enough to be able to create the sounds. Therefore, very, very few people in the world can sing anything they want with their voice. The reason they cannot is because they focused on the sound first, including opera singers. If you focus on breathing first, you can do whatever you want with your voice. Anything you want with your voice. Anything you want with your voice. Anything you want with your voice. Did you hear me? Did I not say that enough times?
Thank you so much for that demonstration. It's really powerful.
So
You're
Stephen,
welcome, Felicia.
I know your workshop in 9 weeks, you're doing this, helps people to recondition themselves. What are a couple of things they can do now to kind of tap into their diaphragm, to expand that, to be able to kind of
Smile.
Okay.
Smile. And when you're not smiling, smile more. Keep a mirror with you. Smile all the time, as much as you can, as often as you can, and change it into a laugh. And learn how to breathe in and out through the mouth as if you're smiling and laughing all of the time. Because they've proven not only if you sing on a consistent basis, you live longer, they've proven that also if you laugh more, you live longer. Guess what? Singing and laughing are the same thing. Oh, I'm talking now. They're all the same. They all sit into the same environment. So basically what I do is I teach people how to breathe a particular way, and then show them, if you breathe this way, then you incorporate the smile into that, you incorporate the laugh into that, you incorporate the singing into that, and of course, what you're all mostly interested in, you incorporate your speaking voice into that in a way that is natural, authentic, fun, exciting, energetic, and useful and effective for loving, reaching out, caring for, serving, and helping as many people as possible. Because think about it. Aren't you loving more people simply by smiling?
Yes.
In every relationship, you're going to be better off simply because you smile more. Ladies, raise your hand if you'd rather go out with a man who smiles and has a sense of humor. Men, raise your hand if you would rather date a woman that smiles more. Right? Yet everybody gets mad about this. Women, I'm tired of being told that I don't smile. Like, what do you mean? Like, it is what it is, ladies. It is what it is, gentlemen. We're attracted to this. What's missing the physiological ability to train yourself how to do it more by deep breathing. That's what's missing. That's what I'm teaching. That's what it's all about. That's what it comes down to. If you can get it somewhere else, get it somewhere else. As far as I know, I'm one of the only people in the world that is teaching this. Everybody else is teaching people how to paint their frickin' car.
Stephen, would you mind showing us the ST3? Explain that to us and explain how you do that. And it would be really great if we could get everyone on screen. So while Stephen is doing this, we can also participate.
All right. Yes, Lisa, let's
Joseph,
do
if
that.
you wouldn't mind putting us back on so we can all see each other.
I can see
You'll see some yawning. I'm just going to give you a couple of
Right?
some things that will happen. You'll see some yawning and some exhaustion as well from the exercise.
And just before you respond, Stephen, I want to interject here, and I apologize. I'm walking through an airport as we conduct this, but what you said was so important. I want to lean into that a little bit about the smiling and the laughing, like all of the time, because you're kind of training. You know, you're not only training like for your voice and your breath, but you're training your emotions to live a happier life, and that leads to, the release of positive biochemicals in your body that lead to a happier life. So it becomes self-reinforcement. Those of us in this community know that, physiology changes your emotional states.
100%, Frank.
And the second part of that I wanted to lean into is that you're also kind of training yourself with your micro expressions to just naturally be more expressive of that happiness. So, I don't know if anybody is familiar with micro expressions. Anybody who's seen the movie Lie to Me, I'm sorry, the television series Lie to Me, or familiar with the work of Paul Ekman, that's extremely important. And this, this is all connected, is what I'm trying to say. All of this material is connected back, and Stephen just does such an outstanding job of presenting it in a simple way, but doesn't mean it's any less powerful the way that he's presenting it. So I just want to acknowledge you, Stephen, and just kind of lean into those couple of points.
No, that's fantastic. Thank you for that, Frank. So, I love that you said that, Frank. I made the point to show you how I can do different things with my singing voice, but I can do the same thing with my speaking voice. Hi, my name is Stephen Harms. 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 The truth of the matter is, I'm not physically doing anything different. What I'm doing, and going back to our original point, Joseph, is I'm breathing the same way consistently. And then I think, or I have intentionality of the sound that I want. And that's the sound that comes out. That's what it's actually
17:45.
is. But you would not be able to do that unless you were breathing a particular way. You just wouldn't be able to, because physiologically your body wouldn't know what to do. Is everybody keen on this idea? So I'm going to show you physiologically what I'm actually doing so that you can know how I do it. You ready? It's called ST to the power of 3. Okay? 3 words: start, stay, and stop. ST, ART, ST, AY, and ST, OP. ST to the power of 3. It's also kind of fun that the first 2 letters of my name, Stephen, is also ST, but we can talk about that later. All right, so.
Shouldn't that be the power of 4 then?
ST to the
Trying
power
to be
of 3.
correct for the other math.
Sound as cool, Frank. ST to the power of 3. Are you ready? Here we go. When I make a sound, I always start open. Then I take a breath and I say my phrase. And as I say my phrase, I stay open. And now, as you can see, when I finish a phrase or a sentence or a word, my mouth stops open. See it? What's the difference? Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Street light. See that? No, watch now. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Straight light. It's choreography. It's isolation. It's dance. You understand? This is not for people that just want to paint their car and go, oh, I painted my car. Yeah, I'm done. This is for people that want to go to the dance studio and learn how to dance. This is for people that want to choreograph their voice, that want to learn isolation exercises. Think about it also this way. Do you have jaw tension? Do you have neck tension? Do you have tongue tension? Do you have mouth tension? Do you know why? Because you don't isolate. When you isolate the breath from the space, from the sound, tension goes away. But if you try to do it in a single step process where you open the mouth, take the breath, and say the sound all at the same time, you're going to have tension. But when you isolate, don't stop believing. I always use Mary Had a Little Lamb to practice this. Mary had a little lamb. Little lamb. Little lamb. It's choreography. That's what I'm going to teach you. Come to my course. You're going to learn how to breathe. You're going to learn choreography. If you learn how to do that, then when you speak in front of crowds, when you sing in front of crowds, the choreography will already be in place. You won't have to think about it. Do you think that I ever have to think about my breathing? Never. Do you think that I ever have to think about my choreography? Never. Doc, Lisa, you've known me. Have you ever heard me warm up my voice or not be on or not have it work? Or have I ever called in sick? Have I ever been like, oh my gosh, my voice isn't working today. Oh, I just can't smile today. I'm tired.
Never,
Never.
ever. We have saw you singing on plank.
Yeah.
That's what we have seen.
Wow.
And Stephen has taught on Clubhouse, taking questions for up to 25 hours. So,
26 hours. Latest was 26 hours.
Amazing.
And then end of those 26 hours, he sang amazing opera.
Guys, the voice does not get tired. It's a myth. It only gets tired because of friction, like a car. Cars break down because of friction. But if you know how to keep friction out of your voice, you're not going to get tired. It's not a complicated concept. It's just hard for people to grasp that it could be that simple.
Stephen, you mentioned friction. So isn't it also important to stand straight or to breathe or hold our posture certain ways?
Yes, because posture or posture that is not effective for the vocal mechanism to work effectively causes friction.
Yeah.
That's why.
I sit on a giant Pilates ball when I work. This is what I sit on. And I just learned when I get lazy sitting on a chair, or leaning back, it just affects my voice. So I just, for me, it's like a little hack around staying more expansive.
Let's see, if a machine breaks down, right, and there's friction, if the machine's not broken, what do? You lubricate it. Water. A lot of the times our voices aren't working simply because we're not drinking enough water. I kid you not. I kid you not. That's why even on a Zoom recording like this, you guys, I keep my alarm on because I want you to know how dedicated I am to this. I have to grow and have reminders as well. So you can ask Doc and Lisa, who have both been through my course. It goes off during the class, doesn't it? That's on purpose.
Docs, I'd love to hear your experience going through this course. I know you've done a bit of training over the years with different people. And then, of course, working with Stephen, you speak so highly of your experience with him and what transpired. So tell us, Docs.
Hey, thank you, Joseph. I speak highly of both of you, Joseph, you and Stephen. So I met you guys about, so I met Stephen first, obviously, year back through Clubhouse. I walked into his room. His voice was beaming more than his, or maybe just as his picture was at that point. It's just life changing, to be able to breathe. I'm huge on longevity. I'm huge on touching people's heart and just stay happy, right? That's natural. But I saw all the story, all the mechanics, and how physiological changes brings the permanence of any technology you want to upload on your body. Being a software developer, I talk in terms of uploading apps and technology, right? So if we can have that as a good operating system on us, breathing, I knew it, we all knew it, but when you meet Stephen and go through the program and how in various ways we reinforce it, and the family that we have, the voice community family. I've been to many voice coaches, just like you. I respect all of them. Roger Love, they are trying to, or they are giving their best, right? Similarly, when I got in touch with Stephen, I have not looked beyond that, because I believe once I complete making my basics work fine, probably I can sing like him. And I'm practicing. I'm practicing Indian classical music. But above all, what connected me to him is his vision. And I would love to ask this question to you, Stephen. This is what we ask in Joseph's group. What is your biggest why? What is your vision, and what is your vision for your voice community, Stephen? We all will love to hear that.
No, thank you for that, Daksha. I really appreciate that. The truth is the voice is an amazing tool. It really is. Every movement in the world started with a voice. Everything that's ever changed, everything that's ever been transformed throughout human history started with a voice, and then a community of people that aligned or followed or gathered or supported or lifted up or evangelized that voice. That is how everything has been accomplished throughout human history. There are no exceptions to this. None. Not one. Think about that. If that's true, that means if we are going to intentionally love people, we have to consider our voices, but not just our voices, all of our impact and influence, all of our content, all of our writing. Look, ladies and gentlemen, the world is what it is. If you're complaining about anything that you see in the world and you understand what's happening, then and you're thinking clearly, then you're going to eventually come to the same conclusion that I did. That people are writing books. People are creating content. People are becoming public speakers. People are becoming singers. People are becoming influential towards all of the things that you are against. Therefore, the next generation, because those people wrote books and created content and made videos and made audios and had podcasts, that's what the next generation is going to hear. Therefore, if you want them to hear something differently, it is your responsibility to create something that they have an alternative to listen to or be a part of. That is what our community is all about. It's called VOICE. It stands for Visionary Organization of Intentional Communities and Entrepreneurs. I love acronyms. What can I say? Visionary Organization of Intentional Communities and Entrepreneurs. And the concept is this. And it started with somebody asking me a question. Stephen, if you had to say it in less than 30 seconds, what is it that you want? Period. And I had to think about it for a long time. And eventually, this is what I came up with. You are now about to hear what I want. I want to wake up and know that every person on planet Earth has what they need. That's it. That's what I want. Notice I didn't say money. I didn't say time. I didn't say influence. I didn't say impact. I didn't say amazing voice. I didn't say an amazing career. I didn't say a family. I didn't say any of these things. What I want is to wake up and know that every person on planet Earth has what they need. Also, notice that I did not say that I have to be the one that makes sure that everybody has what they need. Nor did I say I'm not willing to be part of making sure that everybody has what they need. It's simply what I want to see happen, whether I'm involved or not. Whether my circumstances are favorable or unfavorable, I don't care. I want to wake up and know that every person on planet Earth has what they need. If I'm a millionaire and every person has what they need, great. If I live in my car and every person has what they need, great. I don't care. Am I making myself clear? That is my vision. That is what I want. That is what I want to see happen. I get the added privilege of understanding that the more people I help with their voices that are aligned with what I would like to see happen in the world, the more I duplicate and replicate and create a legacy of other people that want the same thing that I want. And we as an army of voices go off and as average Josephs and Josephines, we change the world. We make the decisions for the world. We decide what's going to happen next. Because let's face it, the governments aren't going to take care of us. They're just not. The religious organizations are not doing their job. The 501c3 organizations that now circle the globe aren't cutting it. It's up to average Josephines and Josephs to make sure that we wake up and that we are intentional to do what needs to be done. We talk about this a lot in the program as well. This is what we're all aligned to do. As a matter of fact, I don't allow anybody to take my class
It's 18 hours.
unless they agree with my vision statement. Because I want everybody to care about everybody else in the community. By the way, we are starting that class the 15th, right? Is that correct, Lisa? The 15th of March. And I believe there's 3 spots left. We only take 12. 12 people in a class. That's it.
There's a link you have as well. So social tap voice of intention. I'm going to share my screen now. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Amazing. So it goes right there. We'll make sure the voicesecrets.com forwards to this page too as well. So you can see the opportunity, the 9-week program. There's also a link to the voice community. It's an amazing community on Facebook where Stephen provides a tremendous amount of value. So certainly check that out. And some other links too as well. Also some other steps, 5 steps to find your optimum voice. That is also in that link. We'll make sure that voicesecrets.com forwards to this page. Excellent. Excellent. And Stephen, please continue. I just wanted to just interrupt you.
No, not at all. That's
Just show our
fantastic.
members that. Back to you.
So no, it's great. Thank you. So are there any questions out there? I know I've been talking for a long time and I can talk for a long time. So well, the longest I've ever talked, I guess, apparently, Doc, 26 hours. Is that correct?
Hey guys, I gotta leave. I
Non-stop.
apologize, but I'm on the plane.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank
Lock
you
it
so
down.
much,
See
Stephen.
you.
Bye.
Back
Hey,
to
thank you, Frank. So yes, my voice does not get tired. That's
Mm.
something you should really understand. And it's not an anomaly. Your voice would not get tired either if there was no friction.
Do you drink coffee or caffeine, or is that?
I can eat whatever I want. I can drink whatever I want.
Okay.
Right? It's kind of like, how to explain this? If you turn on the faucet of your garden, right, and you attach a hose, right, you can do that, right? If you the water goes from the faucet through the hose, right? That means if there's mud and stuff caked inside the inside of the hose, maybe you left it in the yard too long or something like that, right? If you turn the water on strong enough, it cleans everything out. That's what the breath pressure does.
So your channel's always open continually, nonstop
Bingo.
throughout the day.
So if I have cheese before I create sound, before I speak, or before I sing, I'm fine because my breath pressure is strong enough to push it through. But most people are not using breath pressure. They're using their throat and they're using the mechanism other than breath to contort the sound. Therefore, cheese is going to affect their ability to create sound.
Amazing.
That's the reason.
So
I can eat whatever I want.
I want to say that I used to have a heart condition. My mom had a heart transplant 26 years ago, and my dad had a stroke. He got stressed out, corporate world. When I learned how to bring more awareness to my diaphragm, and being able to breathe my diaphragm consistently, I believe learning how to master this area, getting down, whether it's being yoga, doing voice work, whoever it is, helped me to make those shifts to where I no longer have this condition anymore.
Right.
A lot of it is being relaxed, being relaxed all the time as we communicate and as we engage. And of course, Stephen goes deeper into this. I'm excited about participating further in what you're doing, Stephen.
So the thing that we need to understand, Joseph, is you're a great example of this because you worked really hard on yourself. What I learned from doing opera is that opera singers were losing their voices. Now, this sounds perplexing at first because you're thinking, well, they got their degrees, they learned how to support, they can carry over an orchestra. So what's going on? Why are opera singers losing their voices? Here's what's happening. This was fun. Well, it's not fun. When I figured it out, it was fun because I got to start playing with this. I learned that initially an opera singer learns how to really support, really use the diaphragm, really learn how to project that sound. And what happens over time is the opera singer hears the sound and they think of the sound. So when they go on stage, they copy the sound and the body learns how to mimic the sound without doing the work. So this is really interesting. Is we talked about intentionality earlier, right? If you are intentional to create a specific sound, but your body doesn't know how to create that work, then it will be worse than it was before. The truth is, I teach everyone, create your sound based upon how it feels, how it feels in the body, not based upon the sound that they hear. Because opera singers were losing their voices because they were making these big sounds, but they weren't feeling it in the body anymore. They were copying the sound as if they were still using the body. And that's why they were losing their voices. And I was doing the same thing, but I didn't know it.
How does one go by that, getting unnumbed to the world where they can feel those sensations in their body and to like language that? So how does that happen?
Great question. So I call something called belly button body breathing. It's fun to say. Belly button bottom breathing. It has 4 B's in it, right? Belly button body breathing, right? 4 B's. B4. Before you make a sound, make sure that you belly button body breathe. Put your thumb in your belly button. Open up your mouth and take a deep breath and push your belly button against your thumb. You have to open up your mouth more, Joseph. You have to open your mouth, Felicia. Otherwise, it doesn't work. There you go. Now you should feel more pressure in the body. So now say your name. Go, hi, my name is.
Hi, my name is Joseph.
So notice, even though you already have this cool resonating hip sound that everybody likes, that you actually, because you did that, took a deeper breath than you were already taking.
Fascinating.
Right?
Yes.
Which means if we move away from the concept of good, bad, right, wrong, correct, incorrect, proper, and improper, we start to understand something. That what happens is people think before I learned what I'm doing now, I was doing it the wrong way. And now I'm doing it the right way. But think about it. If now you're doing it the right way, you can't improve. Now, can you? But I just showed you that even though you've done a lot of work, that even though you're already supporting, you follow into something else I like to say. No matter how much work the body is already doing, it can always do
More, better. Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
More is the end. And you, Joseph, just proved that.
Amazing. Yeah.
Because you were intentional. But if you were not intentional, if you had reached a point like, oh, I already breathed the right way, that's what was happening with opera singers.
But you mentioned the feeling before, the feeling that's in the body. Is it more feeling like the thumb pressure, the feeling, or is it like the emotion in the body that's being communicated? What's that?
The thumb pressure is only a gauge. The reason you put your thumb in your belly button is so you can feel what your belly is actually doing. But in truth, I don't need to do that. That's for you guys. I'm giving you an experience that you can copy until you can breathe as deep as I can. But think about it. Now think very carefully about what I'm going to say next. You go to the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, Joseph, you know, you're not going to live much longer. You're breathing way too shallow. Yeah. Sorry about that. And you're like, well, wait a minute. If I'm breathing too shallow, I can change that. I can breathe deeper. And the doctor says to you, yeah, but it's a lot of work. I mean, I can show you an exercise. You can put your thumb in your belly button and push out against your belly button as often as you remember it. But the only way that you're really going to survive much longer is if you do it all of the time. That's a lot of work. You're going to have to be intentional about it. You're going to have to think about it. It's going to have to be consistent and constant. And you're going to have to do it all of the time until you just master it. And then you don't have to put your thumb. So you probably won't do that, which means you're probably going to die. Now you laugh, but that's the equivalent of the choices that people are making. If I show you that, and I can prove to you that if you do that, you'll live longer, aren't you going to do it all the time? No, you won't. Because even though you know that, there's still so many other things that are happening in life that are more important to you and more valuable to you that you probably still won't do it. And you know why I know that? Because Lisa and Doc took my class, and they're not doing it all the time.
So, but it's the awareness, right? It's the awareness, it's there. And basically the practice, it's there. And basically conditioning the body, doing what it takes to minimize friction to be able to do that on a regular basis.
You minimized friction by doing belly button body breathing. You took a deeper breath and it released some of the pressure that you had in your body, and it gave you a deeper sound, a sound that you're not quite used to. It took away some of the cool sound that you're making here, and it broadened it and made it more like this kind of sound.
Amazing.
Didn't it?
It did. It did. So
it did. Say, it did.
It did. It
did.
did.
It
Yes.
did. Now put your belly button, put your thumb in your belly button and say, it did, Stephen. It broadened my sound.
It did, Stephen. It broadened my sound. Amazing.
Now make the word sound longer. It broadened my sound.
It broadened my sound, Stephen.
Good.
It broadened my sound.
Now, but the truth of the matter is, you're not going to do that much longer. You're about to go back to the way that you talk all the time. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm about to go back. But I have a baseline because I know what's there. I can access that, but just do that on a consistent basis.
But right now you're not. Why? Because right now the value of that is not clear to you. Because if you really understood that value, you would be trying to do it more. You'd be like, oh my gosh, that's all I have to do. Oh my gosh, I'll live longer if I talk more like this. Oh, but people will think that I'm weird, so I'm not going to do that. Yeah, I'll die sooner, but I don't care.
So hence take the workshop, right? Put the practice in 9 weeks, do that and a number of other things. Also, you'll be teaching your students as well for that workshop with 3 spots left. That's amazing.
I'm just going to be honest with you, Joseph. I have the privilege and the honor, and sometimes it even makes me cry, of having an amazing volunteer community that evangelizes for my course, that tells people about what we're doing, that's helping us build the community, and they volunteer to do it. Why? Because it's valuable.
Yeah.
It's really, the first time I was talking to Daksha about this, he took my course, and when he was done, he's like, how do I help you? Like, what do you want me to do next? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? He's like, I don't want any money. I don't want anything. I just want to help everybody know who you are. And I'm like, really? The list is long.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a list of people that are trying to figure out how to make it so that we can tell more people about this. I kid you not. And
you've given people access to be able to create more impact, more leadership, whatever they want in the world, specifically out of tapping to their voice. And it's a very simple muscle to tap into. But
and we can change the world.
Yeah,
Joseph, we have the opportunity. Felicia's here, right? She's learned a little bit about smiling and laughing, although she's going back to this a little bit, right? But now that I've reminded her, she's coming back to life, and she's thinking, hey, I already impact and influence the people that I already impact and influence. In fact, we all do. But the truth is what do we all want? We all want to impact and influence more people. This is the step to do that. This is the tool. This is a path that is stronger than any other path. Because if I teach you how to make money, you might make more money, but will you really impact and influence more people with that? Or will you just use that money to indulge in more things, have more comfort, and have more fun? I mean, seriously, when was the last time somebody taught somebody else how to make money specifically so that they could love, reach out, care for, serve, and help more people?
It's 18:15.
We don't think that way, but we need to. We really, truly do. And we're not. We're just not. And I've also learned this. It's not that we're like selfish, bad people like, well, I just don't want to impact and influence more people. I would rather watch Game of Thrones. I'd rather watch Ozark. That's better worth my time. It's not like that. It's like what I said at the beginning of the call. There's hundreds of millions, if not a billion people out in the world that want to do good, but they don't know what to do. That is what we're actually building.
Amazing. They're not
Will you learn about your voice too? Yes. But who cares? I mean, honestly. So you can sound a certain way. Well, Stephen helped me with my voice, and now I feel great about my voice. Woohoo! Who cares? What are you going to do with it? Oh, he helped me make more money on this platform, but who cares? All you're going to do is buy a sailboat and a bigger house and make yourself more comfortable. So why do I care if you have more money? Seriously. What are we going to do with the resources that we have available to us to love, reach out, care for, serve, and help more people? That's what we're building.
Right.
And it starts with the books.
And it comes from love too, as well, also as you engage and connect. And then everything else will come across naturally.
And intentionality. What you talked about intentionality earlier. Why do I call it intentionality? How often do you breathe?
All the time.
And how often are you intentional about the type of breath that you take?
Not often.
At all.
Not at all. Yeah. For most of us.
You understand? Not at all. So if there was a course to teach intentionality, and the idea was to find the thing that you could practice with the most to learn intentionality, what would be the most logical thing to start learning intentionality with? The thing that you do the most, which is what?
Breathe.
Thank you, Joseph.
All right. I'm
You
sure everyone else
understand?
wants to say too. We're all muted. Everyone else is muted out. So
The whole
awesome.
world wants to learn intentionality. What better way to learn intentionality than to be intentional about the next breath that you take?
Amazing, Stephen. Well, this has been awesome. This has been an incredible session this evening. Value packed exercises,
Wait, we're
things
done?
we can do. We're pretty much done.
It's only been 2
We had an
hours.
after party at Clubhouse, Joseph.
I have at
I heard
least
you.
24 hours of material to keep talking.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is not enough.
We were going to go to Clubhouse. Stephen mentioned that he has another engagement after this. We can stay for another 5-10 minutes. If people have questions, I can also check out Facebook to see if anyone has questions there for Stephen as well.
Adolphus Fernandez has a question. I just know it.
Adolphus, do you have a question for Stephen? I know you're muted on your end. Adolphus might be driving, perhaps.
It's just a black screen. I don't even know if there's a person there.
Let me check out our Facebook page. In the
But
meantime,
Felicia's here. Felicia. Oh, Adolphus is here.
Yeah, hi. I just want to say hello to you. That's all. Interesting presentation. Thank you for that. Thank you.
amazing, Adolphus. Thank you for
You're
being here,
welcome,
brother.
Adolphus. I love your name. I
Thank you.
love your name, Adolphus. One of the things that I teach in my platform is everything begins with ah, right? And so you have an Adolphus in your name. So I think that's phenomenal. So Felicia, do you have a question for me?
Oh, I mean, I mean, this is a question for like anything that you want to do to improve, right? It's like, how do you get to the point of doing it all the time, right? We have to make it like either it has to be a habit or just something that you just do naturally, right? In the course of, without even thinking of it, you have to develop it to that point. Because it seems hard, right? Like you said, Lisa and Dash went through your course and you don't think they're practicing this every day, right?
You know, Felicia, hey, Lisa, do you want to talk to Felicia really quick?
Lisa, bring it on. What's been your experience?
I take offense to it because I work really hard at this.
Okay.
It's very funny because I've been listening to this, and the beginning I mentioned that Stephen brought to my attention. I had a Zoom session with him just to ask him some questions to see if I wanted to participate with the class or some one-on-one training. And initially it was, I wanted some help with my daughter. She's nonverbal. She's the child that you just saw. And I said, Stephen, I'd heard him on Clubhouse on the great work that he did with people. I said, my child doesn't speak. I want to work with her. Well, she wanted nothing to do with Stephen. And Stephen says, are you happy right now? I said, yes, of course I am. And I said, I'm home with my child. It's during the pandemic, but I'm fine. And he's like, you have RBF. And I'm like, how dare you? We kept going, like the conversation kept going. And then I'm like, I just burst out laughing, like, you just insult me and I'm still here talking to you. Like, one, that doesn't happen to me ever, but it was so funny. And so then I said, yes, there are some things I want to do with my own voice, but what do I do about a smile? Like, I have inner joy. How do I change that? And it's all about the intentionality, of course. And I've been working on it. The smile itself has been such a big game changer for me. The way people react to me has just been really amazing. The other thing, and Stephen, I don't think you've mentioned this today, but it is about loving one's audience. Everyone is our audience. So be that my daughter, anyone else that I come into contact with, and just being super present and engaged with every person that I meet. And so when I'm doing that, I'm working on the smile, but I'm also working on loving that person. And it has just changed everything for me. So it changes. I mean, I spent the weekend with my older children this weekend, and they're like, why are you so happy? Like, this is just who I am. And so it's been very transformational for me. I'm enjoying it. I too, Joseph, you talked about longevity. That for me, diabetes and high blood pressure, strokes run in my family. So I am very much a follower of that path as well. And this for me just aligned in so many ways with the way I want to grow as a person.
Amazing.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, this is what Stephen wants us to be. Just loud as him. He's not happy with my voice or my breathing yet. I know. But you know what? What I have got from him is much more than a voice, right? This is me talking after just sleeping 3 hours in the last 48 hours. I do a lot of other things. Keto. I also inspire people to live longer, healthier life. We don't need as much, except more breath. We don't need as much food to live longer and happier life, right? We don't need much stuff. So yeah, I'm so inspired that he wants everybody to be an Oprah singer and singing loud, talking loud like a movie star, opening loud mouth, right? Being able to change your voice. When I was a child, I was a mimicry artist, right? And I know I can change my voice. I can change anything that I want to, It's a piano. I can play any scale, anytime. Why not to play a happy scale, right? And that's what I get. The people that I'm getting in my life, Stephen, Joseph, Lisa, all of you came from a vision board. I want to be around happy people who are building other people up. So yes, Stephen is not happy with how much practice I'm being able to do. But I must tell you that whatever I have learned, no matter which interview I have gone to, no matter which person I have connected to, after being intentional, I'm able to communicate to them. I'm able to connect. And people, after speaking to me, when I'm intentional, they want to extend the relationship. They want to be part of it. They want to bring me on their team. Getting things done has gotten much better. Yes, intention is a practice. I'm working on it, but I so much love you, Stephen, for being in my life, much more than that. And I'm truly honored to be in your presence and the presence of this vision, including how you carry forward this vision. So much love to you, brother, Lisa, Joseph, each one of you. Thank you for showing up in my life, Felicia, Alina, Adolphus. Each one of you are, bringing that reality that we can live all together, no matter which community we belong to, how much money we have, what is our voice like, how much we breathe. We can still connect and get better. So with that, let me pass back the mic back to Joseph. Is that what you wanted to hear? Stephen, are you happy?
Nice job.
Great
Nice job,
job.
Dax.
Great voice control. I mean, hearing that inspires me, my friend, just in terms of how you're able to do that, carry that forward with 3 hours of sleep. So how awesome is that? Well, Stephen, thank you so much for being our speaker this evening. Awesome event. For our audience, certainly watch the replay of this, the acronyms you can capture all of that too. Learn more about Stephen, voiceofintention.com. We'll also make sure that his site, so we have voicesecrets.com specifically forwards to this event. We'll make sure that that site, voicesecrets.com, forwards to Stephen's page here. You can access all his communities, his Facebook group, his program. As you mentioned, he has 3 spots left for it, so certainly tap into that. I truly believe that everything compounds over time. If you make 1% progress each day, it adds up. That's how I live my life. Success Circle is what I do. And once you have a new baseline, so once Stephen gives you a new baseline through what you can do with your diaphragm, breathing, connection, love, once you have the baseline, it's hard to go back. That's my experience. So this is all about creating a new baseline for what's possible for you to be fully expressed. And it will likely take 2 months, like takes like 90 days to build a muscle. It'll likely take some time to build on that. But the beautiful thing is that once you have the baseline, once you know what's possible, you're not going to want to go back. So check out thevoicesecrets.com. It forwards to all of that. Stephen, thank you for being here. Docs, thank you for recommending Stephen to be here as well also. And Lisa, thank you also for also being here as well. And really serving us with your intention and your energy, all of you. That's it. For all of you in the audience, check out the replay, nypt.info, for links about the Near Power Team, what Frank and I do each month. And it's been a pleasure being with you, serving with you this evening. Thank you, Stephen. Stephen, any final words you have?
I am honored, Joseph. This was amazing. It really was. It was a very awesome, amazing event here. And I did want to hear a little bit from Elena, but we didn't get a chance to do that. But this was, look, we get to touch people's lives. That's what we get to do. People ask me all the time. They're like, well, like, what do you do? Like, what is your job? Like, what does that actually look like? I said, well, if I'm thinking clearly, I wake up in the morning and I think, okay, today I get to touch people's lives. What's the best way to love, reach out, care for, serve, and help people? They're like, you get paid for that? Like, that's a job? Like, what is that exactly? But honestly, that's what I do. And if I could do it more, I would. And if I could help more people, I would. And I hopefully will, because of platforms like this and connecting with you, Joseph. And clearly you and I are aligned,
Absolutely.
and clearly Felicia and Elena are also aligned, and also Adolphus. Otherwise they wouldn't be with you, which means I now know that anybody that's aligned with you is probably aligned with me, which means our communities now get to work better and towards those goals. And I can look, we all met probably through Clubhouse indirectly to a degree. That's probably how these communities all got built. I know ours did, and I believe that yours did too. Clubhouse is a revolution to the human race, and here's why. The word neighbor means nearby. That's what it means.
It's 1830.
Drink some water. The word neighbor means nearby. That's what it means. It means literally somebody you can physically touch and immediately impact your influence. That's what it actually means. So understand this now, because of technology and specifically because of things like Clubhouse, for the first time in world history, who's your neighbor? Everyone. Which means average Joes and Josephines that have connected on Clubhouse and through Zoom and these types of communities, we're the ones that hold the keys to love, reach out, care for, serve, and help as many people as possible and solve the world's problems. That's where we are. And this is the first time in world history, that has been the case. 10 years ago, everybody was not my neighbor because I didn't have the ability to impact their lives. But 10 years, just within the last decade, because of how technology has moved, here we are. We live in a very unique place in history I'm praying and hoping and believing that your community, our community, all of our communities that work together, all the people that are on this call, all the people that are on my calls, the people in Clubhouse, that if we are thinking that way and we're intentional that way, we don't have to complain about what's going on in the world. We can simply go, that's the way that it is. What am I going to do about it? I have the ability.
I have a voice. We all have voices. We can tap into it. So what do I need?
Right.
What's the next action with that? Amazing.
That's right. That's right. So my name is Stephen A. Harms, and I will never be done speaking.
Awesome. Awesome. Voice of Intention, Stephen Harms. Check it out. Go to voicesecrets.com to tap into more of Stephen, what he's up to, his Facebook community, much more. Go rock it out. Thank you, everyone. Keep winning. Or you win, we win. Let's go win together. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you all.